The light that should not burn. The ferry refused to dock. "I'll bring you close," the captain muttered, eyes fixed on the jagged rock rising from the Atlantic. "But I won't tie off." Daniel Kincaid didn't argue. The island was barely more than a black tooth punching through gray water off the coast of Rockport. At its highest point stood BlackHollow Lighthouse. It looked less abandoned than waiting. The tower rose white and narrow against the brewing storm, its lantern room like a glass eye staring at the horizon. 3 keepers died there, the captain said as Daniel hauled his equipment onto the slick rocks. Burned, drowned, jumped. Daniel gave a tight smile. Old buildings collect bad luck. The captain didn't smile back. That place collects something else. The ferry engine roared, and Daniel was alone. Inside, the lighthouse smelled of salt and something faintly sweet, like wilted flowers. The spiral staircase wound upward into shadow. Rusted railings, faint black smears along the wall. Scorch marks. Daniel was an architectural restoration specialist. The Whitaker Foundation had hired him to assess the structure before converting it into a historical landmark. He didn't believe in hauntings, but he did believe in records. And the records were troubling. 1901, Elias Whitaker. Elias Whitaker had been the first keeper, devoted, disciplined, obsessed with precision. During a violent October storm, ships reported the lighthouse beam flickering. Then it vanished. When a relief crew arrived, they found the lantern room partially burned. Elias lay dead at the base of the stairs, skin scorched. His wife, Margaret, was later found drowned, miles away. Their young son, Thomas, was never recovered. The official cause, lightning strike and accidental fire. The unofficial story, Elias had locked the tower door from the inside. Daniel reached the lantern room by late afternoon. The great Fresnel lens stood dark and clouded with dust. Outside, fog crept across the water unnaturally fast, swallowing the horizon. A low horn echoed from somewhere distant. A ship. Daniel frowned. The lighthouse had been decommissioned decades ago. No automated systems remained active. So why did he feel like something was waiting for the light? Behind him, a footstep. Slow, measured. Daniel turned. The room was empty. Then he smelled smoke. When lightning flashed outside, he saw him. A tall man near the far wall. Clothes charred into his skin. "Elias Whitaker, you let it go out," the figure rasped. Daniel stumbled backward. "You're not real." "You let it go out." The glass windows rattled violently. The mechanism behind him creaked as if unseen hands were turning it. The lens began to move. Daniel bolted down the stairs. Halfway down, he nearly collided with another figure standing on the steps below. A woman in a soaked dress, hair floating as though underwater. Margaret. Water dripped from her chin. "He locked the door," she whispered, voice bubbling. "He said the light must not fail." The air grew colder. Below her stood something smaller. A boy, his face pale, eyes hollow. Thomas. Daniel forced himself to breathe. "This is isolation," he muttered. "Stress, hallucination." But the staircase trembled as heavy footsteps descended behind him. Elias. "I did what was necessary," the burned man growled. The fog was wrong. Ships would crash. Margaret's voice sharpened. "You chose the light over us." The Boer looked at Daniel. "He still thinks he's saving them." 1934. Arthur Bell. The second keeper lasted 33 years after Whitaker. Arthur Bell was found face down in shallow water. Official cause? Drowning. But witnesses claimed the lighthouse beam had spun wildly the night before. Inside the lantern room, the lens had cracked from the inside. Arthur had tried to stop something. Daniel reached the base of the stairs. The door was shut. He hadn't closed it. Water seeped across the floor from nowhere. Arthur Bell stood by the threshold, fingers wrinkled from long immersion. "I tried to extinguish it," Arthur whispered, "but he wouldn't let me." Elias appeared again, descending slowly. "If the light dies, they die," he roared. The fog outside thickened visibly through the window slits. The distant ship's horn sounded again. Closer. Daniel felt it then, the vibration in the stone beneath his boots. Not from the sea, from below. The third death, 1978. Samuel Crow, the final keeper. He had jumped from the cliff, but investigators found the lantern room welded shut from the inside. And the light had burned brighter than ever before that night, then gone dark. "You think I started it," Elias said, stepping toward Daniel. "But I only found it." The boy shook his head slowly. "Tell him." Margaret's gaze fixed on Daniel. "The rock is older than the tower." Arthur added, "The lens focuses more than light." The vibration deepened, a low, resonant hum that seemed to echo inside Daniel's skull. Thomas stepped forward. "It feeds on loss." Daniel's stomach turned cold. The lighthouse wasn't haunted because of tragedy. The tragedies were offerings. Shipwrecks, fires, drownings. The fog wasn't natural. It was drawn here. Lured. And the beam? A signal. Outside, for the upper windows, Daniel could barely see the looming shadow of a cargo ship emerging from fog. If it struck the rocks, more dead, more fuel. Elias grabbed Daniel's arm with surprising solidity. "You must light it." Arthur shouted, "No." Daniel felt pulled between them. "What happens if it burns?" he demanded. Elias hesitated. "It binds it." Arthur shook his head violently. "It strengthens it." Thomas's voice cut through them all. "It traps the wrong thing." Silence fell. The mechanism began turning faster. The lens glimmered faintly, without power, without flame. Daniel realized the truth in a sickening wave. The lens was a prism, not just for light, but for something beneath the foundation. Every time the lamp ignited, it sealed the entity below temporarily, but it also trapped the souls of those already consumed. Elias had overfed the flame, trying to hold the seal. The pressure cracked it. The fire wasn't an accident. It was backlash. Arthur tried drowning the flame, loosening the seal entirely. Crow welded the door shut and jumped rather than become the next anchor. A keeper was required, always. The floor split open with a thunderous crack. A fissure yawned in the stone beneath the staircase. From it seeped black, viscous liquid. Not seawater. Something thicker. And from deep below came a low, ancient rumble. Hungry. The ship's horn blared again. Closer. The entity wanted impact, wanted the souls. Daniel made his choice. He ran upward. Elias tried to block him. Daniel shoved through him, passing through smoke and heat. At the lantern room, he grabbed a rusted iron bar. "If the lens focuses it," he muttered, "then break the focus." Thomas nodded. Elias screamed, "No!" Daniel swung. The iron bar smashed into the glass. A crack split the lens from top to bottom. The tower shrieked. Not wood, not wind, stone. He swung again. The lens shattered. A blast of pressure knocked him to the floor. Below, the fissure widened violently. The entity surged upward. For one horrifying second, Daniel saw it, a writhing mass of shadow. And bone fragments and whispering mouths. The spirits flickered violently. Thomas grabbed Daniel's wrist. One last flame. Daniel stared at him. "But the lens?" "Not to focus," the boy said. To cauterize, Daniel tore down the stairs into the basement. He found the old fuel reserves, poured them into the fissure. The shadow recoiled. Elias appeared beside him, no longer burning. "I thought I was saving them," he whispered. "You can," Daniel said. He struck a match. The shadow lunged upward. Daniel dropped the flame. White fire erupted, brighter than any lantern beam. The fissure shrieked, as if alive. The entity thrashed violently. The spirits began to glow. Margaret took Thomas's hand. Arthur closed his eyes. Samuel Crow appeared briefly, smiling faintly. Elias stepped toward his family. "I'm sorry," he said. The white flame consumed the pit. Stone fused shut. The shadow dissolved into silence. But the fire didn't fade. It moved upward, through the tower, into Daniel. He understood. The lighthouse required an anchor, a living will to hold the seal steady. The others had failed because they fought it alone. He would hold it differently, balanced, not fed by obsession, but by control. The white fire settled behind his eyes. The storm outside calmed. The fog thinned. The cargo ship's horn faded safely into distance. Margaret, Thomas, Arthur, and Samuel began dissolving into soft light. Elias lingered. "You are the keeper now," he said gently. Daniel nodded. 2 days later, the ferry returned. The captain climbed the rock cautiously. The lighthouse stood pristine. No cracks, no damage. Inside, everything appeared undisturbed. Except, the lantern room glowed. The beam shone steady and calm across the water. And in the glass reflection, the captain saw a silhouette standing inside, watching. Below the rock, something ancient stirred, but it did not rise, because the light burned. And this time, the keeper understood what he was guarding.